Oh, when I sing, my cats all tend to scatter, no matter if my voice is clear or hoarse. I always chase them screaming, "What's the matter? I feed you, you should be my fans, of course." But no, contrariness is just their way, and my way is to ignore them when they beg for treats or ins or outs. To them I say, "Tough kitty, and don't scratch the sofa's leg." For two can play at this game to avoid, if they won't lend their pointy little ears while I rehearse. I wonder, what would Freud advise when I succumb to feline jeers? Oh, I'll admit the cats have got me cowed. Perhaps I'll switch to dogs, if I'm allowed.
Sonnets from Suburbia. It's the name of your book. And I also noted that you have a website and you do that kind of thing. Are you still keeping that up to date? Or
It is not up to date, but shh, don't tell you.
Who can tell?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about you're talking about my YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah, my website's a mess. Don't go there yet.
Okay.
But yeah, my YouTube channel, while not up to date, since dozens and dozens of people have been there, it'll be new to you. So
Right.
Do go there. Yeah, just go to YouTube, type in Sonnets from Suburbia in the search bar, and you will get there. And there are 50 videos up there that you can see me prancing around in my costume. And that wig, which is over there.
Lady Penelope.
Yes, I wanted to. Lady Penelope couldn't show up in her full regalia today, but
I don't blame you.
So I just brought her wig.
But you got a t-shirt. That's cool.
I have a t-shirt. Marketing.
All right. We'll bounce around on the timeline, but what led to the book? What led to the YouTube channel first? What led to the whole concept of you becoming Lady Penelope and doing a lot of your own sonnets?
Well, let's see. It started over 10 years ago. I was in a Shakespeare class, an acting class.
Mhm.
And one of our assignments, because we were getting up close and personal with iambic pentameter, one of our assignments was to go home and write a sonnet. So I went home and I wrote a sonnet, which I think, and my first one was dedicated to my husband. And I had so much fun. I wrote 4 of them. And I came back to class the next week and I said, "Oh, teacher, I wrote 4. And he said, "That's nice, Penny. Just read 1." Anyway, so I just kept writing them. I mean, I just kept writing them. I've always loved Shakespeare sonnets. I'm a Shakespeare lover, joining the millions and millions. And I just kept going and going and going. And then finally, I kind of got a book together. This is years ago, and tried to get it published, which is what, us new writers tend to do. Tried to get it published, submitted, rejection. Then I started getting individual sonnets published in poetry journals. But I couldn't crack the book thing. And one kind publisher, well, sort of kind, he rejected me, but he gave me some good advice. He said, "Well, because you're an actress, why don't you try to have some kind of online presence, do something performing your sonnets or whatever." And I thought, good idea. I don't have any other good ideas. And so I started doing that. And I guess the Lady Penelope thing, I just thought it would be fun because it's an Elizabethan, very old form. And of course, doing them in a Shakespearean costume, I thought would be a very fun contrast to the modern themes that my sonnets have. It amused me. So that's what I started doing in the hopes that others would be amused.
Well, they are certainly amusing. They're brilliantly done. I don't understand the form. I don't know what a sonnet is.
I
don't know what
right
iambic pentameter is.
Pentameter.
So I thought I might as well just go ahead and ask, and that way you can explain it to others.
Yes. Let's see. There are several different forms of sonnets. The only one that I use is called the Elizabethan sonnet. Some people refer to it as just the Shakespearean sonnet because that's what he used. It consists of 14 lines. The rhyming scheme is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G. And the last being a couplet. In fact, I will do a sonnet for you right now that explains it. Dear friends, I'll teach you how to write a sonnet. Elizabethan is what I prefer. 'Twas good enough for Shakespeare. Let's get on it. 'Tis most familiar. Scholars would concur. 3 quatrains and a couplet's all you need, with alternating rhymes, save for the end. Add iambic pentameter indeed, da-dump, 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 like heartbeats penned. All subjects are fair game, so fear ye not. Your muse can take the playing field at will. Observe the form most strictly to the dot, or lack of grace will follow from your quill. Do not begrudge the boundaries of meter, for rhyme and rhythm make this life much sweeter. Now, I will explain, okay, iambic pentameter, and iamb, I-A-M-B, is a foot of meter, which is da-dump. So in iambic pentameter, you have five da-dumps, da-dump, 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 da-dump. And so that is the, and Shakespeare, you know, an awful lot of his plays are also in iambic pentameter. They don't rhyme, but, you know, they're in iambic pentameter. And it can be a challenging form for the actor, especially when you're in a play speaking dialogue, to make it, well, I wouldn't call, I would never say I was going for natural when doing anything Shakespearean, but to make it live, let's put it that way. And the nice thing about, excuse me, iambic pentameter, it is like heartbeats, because your heart, you know, da-dum, 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 like your heart goes. And that's why I think it's so beautiful.
How does that, I don't want to get too deep with this, but
that's okay. I can't get much deeper. Right. No worries.
Well, no, I'm going to ask you about why you enjoy it, I think, because I can't understand as a person who has tried to be a writer for a long time. I don't understand why tying myself to, you know, a ruled rhythm and repeating patterns is going to make it better in terms of trying to express thoughts or convey ideas.
You know, it's not a matter of better, Dave. It's a matter of different. There are different ways to express oneself. I mean, some people like haiku. Some, you know, it. And here's what I think. Form to me does not mean imprisonment. Form is freedom for me. Not
if you have to grab one syllable and release 2 others to make it fit.
Well, that's, you know, it's not for you, but that's also, I'm trying to make an analogy. In acting, you know, when you're doing a stage play, most plays are blocked, what they call blocking, and staged. You know, you must
setting down the movement. Yeah.
You must move stage left. Also, you'll miss your light if you don't move stage left at a certain point. But within that form, you know, for me as an actor, once the blocking gets locked in, and one could think of blocking the same way you're thinking of the sonnet form, is that it's so tight, and how can you do anything if I have to move left on that line? And what if I don't feel like it? Within the form, it's like when an actor has the blocking and the map laid out, within that map there is so much freedom to just go crazy, because you have to go stage left doesn't mean how you get there and how you feel when you get there is going to be stale or boring for the actor or for the audience. it's a form that can contain wildness. And not sure if I can put it any better than that. I totally understand your attitude about it, your feeling about it as a writer. I don't know. I just really love it. It's challenging. And sometimes, I'm a fan of free verse, but I'm not a very good free verse poet. And actually, some of my best friends write free verse.
Well, I know one particular. I just finished reading Doug's book. It's wonderful.
Oh, well, now that's not free verse. That's prose. I mean,
that's prose. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we shouldn't turn this into a writing lesson or an acting class for that matter. But I am interested in your background and how you became an actor and how long ago that started.
Well, when I was 6 years old, my dad took me to a matinee of My Fair Lady, starring Julie Andrews and Rex Harrison. I don't mind dating myself. And I just decided that's what I want to be, the little girl. So that was kind of the moment for me. And my parents wisely, had no interest in, it never occurred to me to be a child actor anyway, because I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, obviously people need children and things, but boy, I wouldn't want my kids in this world. But yeah, so I just did plays and all that kind of usual stuff when I was growing up in school. And then I went to college, studied theater, left, went to New York, started working, and moved out to California.
Speaking of My Fair Lady, I saw the performance years later, but it was like in the 70s, and Rex Harrison was still doing it, and it was a touring show in San Francisco. And I'm trying to think of the name of the woman who played
Liza. Eliza.
Yeah. I think it was Kennedy. Anyway, it was wonderful. But what blew me away was how he just mumbled his way through all the lines. It was so impressive. Did you get that?
When you say mumbled, what do you mean? You mean you couldn't?
Well, I mean, he didn't sing; he sang.
Oh, we talked. Yeah, that it was always that way.
Yeah.
I mean, he did have some. I mean, it was designed for his voice. Yeah, I mean, that's that they, he was their star, and that's it. I loved it. Did it bother
so
you
did
that
I.
he wasn't singing? Oh,
just amazing. I wasn't being critical of that. It just you made me think about that. So you started doing plays when you were a child, and you went up through high school and so forth.
Just in school, yeah.
Yeah. At what point did you say, I think I need to try to do this for my future?
Well, I think I decided that definitely by college. I mean, because I was studying theater. I had an amazing teacher, drama teacher in high school, and I think a lot of people who become artists of any kind, or writers, or whatever, or anything, actually, historians can point to it, some teacher that really turned them on and just really opened up a whole world to them. And we have to be so grateful for those people. They're too few and far between. My teacher's name is Michael Penta. He's 90 years old. Oh, grief. Hang on. I thought I turned off my phone. How embarrassing.
That's all
right. Anyway, Michael Penta is the name of my high school drama teacher. He's 90. He's just an amazing man. And so many people just owe him their careers. So you have someone in your life like that. It's just fabulous.
I understand. You have to have inspiration in terms of people to admire and people to give you the confidence and encouragement.
And teach you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had in the one semester I went to college. By that time I was working in radio. It's what I wanted to do. And they kept changing my schedule and stuff. And finally I gave up on college and going, you're really not going to become a psych major. So, but I was taking drama class.
Well, that's we had a great fit for radio.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to over that. It's a good fit for radio.
It's so good. You know, I did the acting in high school like you did, and then I did a little bit in college, in the brief time I was there. And I had this amazing instructor in college. His name was Bill Sibley, and he took me aside one day and he says, "You know what?" He says, "I think you've got it." He says, "I think you've got the makings of a professional. If you care to go down that path, it's very, very hard." He told me all the hurdles and the rejection and all that stuff.
Starvation.
Yeah, right. So that was great. But and as I got better, I started working on stage in community theater, and I met some of the best actors I've ever seen to this day.
Wow.
That just prefer to stay in community theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I've forgotten why I started to tell you that, because we were supposed to be talking about you, but
That's okay. No, this is you wanted a conversation. This is called conversing.
yeah. Anyway, so it's something that I really love. And I was going to ask you to tell me about a little bit about how that turned into a profession for you. That's what it was.
Well, it starts with desire. You mean my first job? Is that what
Yeah, well, you said you moved to New York. You just kind of ran over
Well,
that.
that was after college. I went to Emerson College in Boston, and my first professional job actually was it in between junior and senior year? The senior and I don't know. I was in an improv group called The Proposition in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that ran for many, many years. I was only involved for a year. That was my first professional job.
Improv?
All
Wow.
improv. And not only that, it was musical improv. There was a brilliant piano player who worked with us. So you were not only making up the words, you were making up the tune. Well, she was kind of guiding you with the tune. There were certain templates. By templates, I don't mean melodies, but types of songs. Like we knew every time we did a parody musical, we asked the audience, "What do you want to see a musical about?" And they'd go, "Toilet Paper Factory." That actually was one of them one night. And so we knew there'd be an opening up-tempo number, there'd be a love ballad, and there'd be a torch song at the end. And I can't remember, there was some other type of song in there. And that was just, once you've done that, you tend to not be afraid of anything because it's the most terrifying thing in the world. I
can't think of anything more terrifying except maybe stand-up.
Yeah, although stand-up, you write. Yeah, stand-up is terrifying. I tried it once. I did one open mic night, and that was the worst 3 minutes of my life. But comics do write their material.
Yeah,
so it's,
right.
And obviously there is a good comic there'll be an improvisational element where they might react to what's happening in the audience, or riff off some idea. But you're planned. No one gets up there with no ideas and nothing planned. Even though it might seem that way.
Well, it should seem that way, right?
I guess. But it's so. I don't know if you watched the Chris Rock special, but that was
I did.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. That very tightly scripted.
Yeah.
That was, and Jerry Seinfeld, same way. All of them. They come there with their material that they've been honing over a year maybe of traveling around to clubs and seeing what works. And then if they're on that level and they do a special, that is the result. They have culled this material that has worked in countless ways. So I know
the thing that makes it all worthwhile is when you're on stage and you're in character and you're doing a role, whether you're having a dialogue or a monologue, and the audience joins you, kind of spiritually, especially if you're doing comedy, and you can get into that groove where you're interacting with their reactions to what you're doing. They're reacting to your reactions to their reactions and that sort of thing. You can send them up, you can do a great comedy line, and then they laugh, and then you give it just a beat and a turn of a head and a lift of the eyebrow, and they go up again, not even quite sure why. That's the joy of live theater, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it's wonderful. I think I don't know if I can say most actors prefer the stage, but I think an awful lot of them do.
A lot of them say they do anyway.
Yeah.
So you then,
Movies are very hard, and movies are very, very challenging.
that's what I was going to ask you next. What is the big difference for you?
Oh, well, just you get to do it over and over again until you get it right. So I mean, that's a big difference right there. And just technically, there are just so many. It's just so it's very enjoyable, but it's a whole different thing. There are just so many little teeny pieces to every scene. It really is challenging, and you don't experience moments of exhilaration like you do on stage.
Yeah.
Maybe when you get back in your trailer and you go, or in my case, little teeny dressing room, you might think, wow, that felt good, or I think we really got that scene, or I mean, nothing's ever perfect. You're always going, wish I had fill in the blank. It's just it's such a different atmosphere, and there's an intimacy to it that obviously you can't get on stage. Cameras on this. It's just there, yeah, all the things
Yeah. Take us, give us a little bit of the list of the work that you've done, movies and the TV shows. I have the list here, but if I change screens, then I'm never going to be able to find your face again.
Yeah, no, that's
too many windows
okay.
open.
And a lot of them don't need to be mentioned. If people really want to know, they can go to iamdb.com and
right.
Every silly little thing I've done, and some of the good things I've done. Let's see. Well, my first most significant credit was starring in Hot L Baltimore by Lanford Wilson off Broadway in New York.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic job. That's how I got my equity card. After that, one of my still best screen credits and first was All the President's Men. I had one little scene. My little brother timed it. He goes, "That was just 90 seconds." Anyway, with Dustin
I just watched, before we started talking, I watched your interview with Bob Woodward on that.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool. So you can find that on YouTube too.
Yeah, that's on my Penny Peyser channel.
Right.
That's
Okay.
not on the Sonnets from Suburbia channel, but easy
Right.
to find. Yeah, that was a guess, of course. Yeah, so All the President's Men. My another favorite wonderful credit is The In-Laws with Alan Arkin and Peter Falk.
Great movie.
And Alan, who I'm still in touch with, wrote a wonderful little blurb on the back of my book.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
He's just such a sweetheart. And The Frisco Kid with Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford. That movie was a lot of fun. And my first television series was Rich Man, Poor Man. That was on Rich Man, Poor Man Book 2, I should say. That was on during the 76-77 season. I played Tony Randall's daughter on the Tony Randall Show.
Right.
Another wonderful, encounter with a totally unique actor. And Crazy Like a Fox with Jack Warden.
Mm-hmm.
And
You played his daughter-in-law, right?
Yes, and Knots Landing with all those Knots Landing people. And then other than that, a bunch of television movies, Blue and the Gray, I suppose, most notably. That was a Civil War miniseries, which people always confuse with the North and the South. They always go, "Well, you were in the North and the South." No, I was in the Blue and the Gray. Same war, two different series. And I played Colleen Dewhurst's daughter, and Lloyd Bridges was my father. These are names that are fast becoming lost to a lot of my younger friends.
Yeah, but they're huge.
Huge.
How did you get started professionally in those regards? How did you find an agent and progress from there?
Okay. Well, when I moved to New York, I secured the requisite waitressing job. I was a lousy waitress. I was an irritated, angry waitress because I didn't have to be doing that. I did not make a lot of money because of my attitude, but it did pay my rent for a while. Anyway, back in the day, 1973, you could still do what they called making rounds. And by the way, that whole thing, I think, was done even before I left New York in 1976. Literally, I had a list of addresses of agents. I had my little stack of 8x10s with my resume stapled on the back. And you walk around, literally knocking on doors. Sometimes the doors would be locked. I remember there was a mail slot on one door. I don't remember whose office it was.
Wow.
But it was not 8 inches wide. And it was the message specific to me. The message was specifically, thou shalt not put thine 8x10 in this slot.
Gosh.
And I was trying to get it in, and then I just vaulted up, threw it on the floor and left it there. They didn't call. But anyway, so that's how I got my first agent. Literally someone said, all right, I'll work with you. And so then, the first thing I did was some commercials. That was kind of the first thing I got. And anyway, so it just went on from there. And, my first agent dropped me, of course. But then I got a television series. So, nay. I am nothing if not mature. Anyway, so, had an agent, and agents submit you for jobs, and, you have to have a lot of auditions to get one job. And and so then, because of All the President's Men, which came out in 1976, off Broadway, where I had been working, was really kind of dead, and I couldn't get arrested on Broadway. No one wanted me. I had a million auditions for Grease, and they just weren't buying. And anyway, so I decided to go out to California and visit my uncle for a few months. And just since I had this piece of film, and at the time, there was so little film being done in New York, and no one really cared about film. The only thing that was going on, soap operas were in New York, and the occasional movie would shoot there, but no television, it was really dead. So I thought, well, I got this little piece of film. I'll go out to California, never been. So I went out to stay for the summer, and I never came back.
Sounds like a success story right there. And you're still there. You're still in Southern California.
I'm still there. I'm still here, darn it.
You're still working.
Still working when they let me. But now I've created my own work. Now. Oh, and actually, Lady Penelope is going to be performing at the LA Fringe Festival this June. I have 3 shows there in June. And so if you're in the area, Dave, or any of your listeners, do come by and see it. Check the Fringe schedule. I know that's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm sure it will. When did you meet Doug? Doug McIntyre, for anybody who may not know, was a tremendous radio talk show host for many years, KABC in Los Angeles, and also did quite a bit of work at WABC in New York. He became a friend of mine when I was working with him. I started, oddly enough, doing a morning show, and he was doing the overnight show that led into it. He called Red Eye Radio. Mm-hmm. And then my show failed miserably and deservedly. And I went to work at another station and so forth, but I would still see Doug from time to time. And we just really kind of hit it off. And I came back to work with him as his news guy.
Yeah.
And somebody
you were there on his last day the first time around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that very well, because he told me, he says, all right, he says, I've recorded my last half hour, so I'm going to get out of here. And he says, we're going to play the tape. And it was the weirdest thing, him saying goodbye on the air, but he was already half an hour gone. But but I love Doug, and I love his humor and his background as a TV writer and so forth. And now he's written a wonderful novel.
It's terrific.
I really
it really
love
is.
it. Called In Frank's Shadow, and that's going to be coming out in July. But this book of yours is out. But I was going to question, as I was looking at your material online, is this the first Lady Penelope publication, or were there others?
No. This is it.
Yeah, it's fun reading.
Thank you.
And it's enjoyable because the only time I have to read really is at night when I go to bed. And I try to go to bed a few minutes early so I can at least get a few pages in before I nod off. Your book is perfect for that, because you can read a sonnet in a minute or two and maybe work in 5 of them before the lights go out. So
good.
Anyway,
Glad to hear that.
it's delightful. Got anything else coming up that we should know about?
Well, I'm working on my next book of sonnets, of course. This is Sonnets from Suburbia, More Candles Than Cake. My next book is going to be Sonnets from Suburbia, The Sexual Contextual. Anyway, so that and my show, I'm going to be in rehearsal for my LA Fringe show, and then any other TV film opportunities that come along. That's always kind of in there. Auditions come, auditions go.
Yeah.
Once in a while, a job comes along. So
you prefer to do piecemeal stuff, or do you like like series work, or what?
Oh, who wouldn't like to be on a series? I've done 4. I can't complain. I've done 4 television series, and none of them ran more than a season and a half.
Yeah.
I don't consider that my fault, but having a series is a dream job these days. They're doing so much high quality limited series things that are just as good as any feature film you might see anywhere. I mean, television is so different than it was in the 70s when I started. I mean, for you cat lovers, the little cat just made an appearance. Let me let him out. What moment, Dave? Okay, go. Get out. I'm sure you have some cat people in your audience.
Well, I'm in our cat's room right now. She shares my office with me.
Oh, nice.
This is where she sleeps.
Nice.
And I don't know if I've got the background blurred.
The fuzzy background thing.
Her cat tree is really back there, and I am no more than 3.5 feet away from the litter box that Alexa just reminded me to clean.
Well.
Anyway,
Okay,
Penny, can you give us another one of your sonnets before we
sure
say goodbye?
Yes. Okay, let's see. Okay. Oh, well, I'll read one that's sort of in between. Okay. It's called All's Not Lost. How can it be so many years have passed, despite my mighty efforts to forestall? I am a senior citizen at last. My ID tells the sorry tale to all. Neither push-ups nor exfoliation can fool discerning eyes in Hollywood. While plastic surgery is a sensation, 'tis somewhat risky. I'm not sure I should. And now, observing wrinkles on my neck and softening belly laughing in my face, the time is right to make a holy trek into my soul before I end the race. But all's not lost. Some progress has been made. My life insurance premium's been paid.
All right, you just set me up for an area of question I probably shouldn't go into, but
you're going into it.
Well, here we go.
Okay.
You made reference to all the things that you did in the 70s, and now your sonnet just talked about getting older and being in Hollywood and so forth. Honest to God, on this screen, as I'm looking at you, if I didn't know hadn't met you before, hadn't read about you, I would have said, there's a 50-something woman.
Oh,
and
sweet. God bless you, son.
Seriously. But I'm wondering if as we've been led to believe over the years in the articles and the interviews we've read, if the aging problem is still a problem for an actor in Hollywood, and in particular for women.
I think it's definitely gotten better, but it still is. Sure it is. And also, yeah, it's, it is, if you look at, well, starting with Shakespeare, if you look at the ratio of male to female roles,
Right.
every play in Shakespeare, there are exponentially more men than women. There might be one or two women and a gaggle of men, I mean, Hamlet, you've got Ophelia and Hamlet's mother, and then all those other guys. And, it's just the way it is. But obviously there have been, many more strides made in that area, but there's no question, especially in Hollywood, especially, in Europe, in America, in Europe, not, it's different. You look at TV shows, you look at stuff in Britain, for example, you'll see a lot more mature actresses starring in things or having significant roles in television things, movie things.
Well, they can hang a title on you like Dame or Lady.
Right? Yeah, but there are very few of those too. So, right. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. But,
is the material getting better?
I think
in that regard?
Well, for older women?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say yes. It's more, I'll just say personally, it's more difficult for me than it ever was to land a gig, because I mean, I was very, as I said before, very, very fortunate when I was younger. I played a lot of leading roles, and the kind of roles that I used to do on television are now being done by the size of being done by very, very well-known people. I mean, I've auditioned for roles where they were kind of, and this is I'm not even, it sounds like a complaint. I'm not even complaining. This is just the reality, where in reality, I was reading for something that they had already had an offer out to Susan Sarandon. And they have auditions as a backup because Susan Sarandon may decide she doesn't want to do it, and choice A, B, C, and D, but it's so quite well-known people are doing what I consider, smaller roles than they ever would have done on television as they age. So there's, I
think, from my understanding too, is that for so long there was this attitude that movies and TV were two very different things, and movie actors didn't want to lower themselves to working on TV. And now, as you said,
no longer.
TV has gotten amazingly so much better now that we have 900 channels to choose from. We can see everything that we ever loved in the past, and we can see these remarkable short,
amazing,
limited series that are as good as any films that were ever made.
Absolutely, if not better than what's around today. I mean, it's the highest quality material. It's amazing. And so, I should say that, competition and difficulty has always been a part of being an actor.
Right.
It's been that way, probably even, well, I won't say Shakespeare's time, because all the men were playing the women's parts.
Right.
There's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the way it is. You got to accept it, and you have to learn to find your, I don't want to sound too highfalutin, your artistic fulfillment in your own area, which is why I wrote this book, and why I love writing, because, it's the one thing I'm completely in control of. I'm not in control of how many sell, but I'm not in control of reviews, but it does feel really good to create something of your own.
Let's talk for just a moment about the film that you and Doug did together with Jack Sheldon. Is that still available to be found?
It is. It at the moment, I'm having a little difficulty with Amazon. The DVD was on Amazon since from 2008 till late last year. It's available for download. You can rent it for $4.99 or something.
Yeah.
Or you can buy it for download. I think that's on Vimeo. I should send you some links.
I'm going to screw up the title if I try it. It's like something
Trying to get good. The
Trying to
Jazz
get good.
Odyssey of Jack Sheldon.
And why Jack Sheldon?
And if
Jack
you're
Sheldon was for anybody who doesn't know, a wonderful comedic actor, as well as an absolute virtuoso with as a trumpet player. And he hit the very top rung of every ladder he ever climbed.
Yeah.
But you all became friends too, right?
We did, yeah. I would say more Doug than me. I mean, Doug was friends with him and had worked with him before we started this project, which took us the first 5 years of our marriage were spent on Jack Sheldon. That was a great project for Doug and I. We had a fantastic time. We did well on the film festival circuit. We just met a lot of amazing musicians. It was just who we're still friends with today. And it was great project. And for those of you who have been dying to see a Zen documentary, let me refer you to that poster.
Yeah.
Still Point.
I can't see it.
Oh, you
Still
can't
Point?
see it?
Is that what it says?
Still Point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet your viewers can see it. Still Point is a documentary that I made about a Zen meditation center that my sister was living in. That's available on VHX TV.
Oh.
I should send you all these links, Dave.
Sure.
And
Please
a link for my book, most important.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, I'll have pictures of the book and all kinds of stuff.
I will send you the links. Links. We used to just be sausage links. Now it's,
or the animal.
Yeah, exactly right. Anyway, that is a very little seen documentary. I don't know why, but it's a quiet movie.
What fun.
It's very quiet.
Sounds like you're still having a good time.
Yeah.
Living a creative life. There's no better way. Yeah.
I am. And I'm a grandmother, which is just fantastic.
Yes. I've seen the pictures on Facebook of Bud. Your husband,
Buzz.
Bud McIntyre.
But yeah.
All right.
Well, you asked quickly how Doug and I met. We met on the radio in 1999.
Really?
Yes, he was.
I'm sure you told us that story, but I just don't recall.
Oh, not on this show.
No, not here. No.
Yeah. I was super briefly, Doug was guest hosting a radio show that a girlfriend of mine and I were booked on. We were promoting a charity event we were doing. And Doug walked in, Doug was there. So we actually have a recording of our meeting somewhere.
He's one of the all-time great masters of ceremony too.
He is. He truly is.
Yeah. All right. Gotta let you go. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. This has been delightful.
Fun. I really enjoyed it. And I want to plug your book and everything else. And tell Doug I'll need to talk to him again when his book actually goes officially.
Excellent. He's counting on it. Yeah.
All right. Penny Peyser, thank you. Bye.
Bye.